Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone tuning in for today's panel discussion of the South Sudanese Women Intellectuals Forum. My name is Dora Poniloro. I'm a social worker and a child welfare specialist. I'm very glad to be moderating today's session on higher education, credential, and accreditation. We're streaming live from our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. So please follow, share, and leave your questions and comments. Joined with me today are three experts in the field of education. They'll give us some of their insights into the topic, and it is we are only three. There are only three panelists today because this topic needs an in-depth dig into it, and that's why we need time to talk about it. And it will allow, if time allows us, we will be able to take a few questions from the audience. So I'll go on and present the panelists for you. The first person out is Nagomoro Bridget. Nagomoro is a teacher by profession. She has served in the government as county commissioner, minister of health, state member of parliament, founder and initiator of EBUS Girls Boarding School. She has a background from education. She has a degree and a master's in education, and her second master's is in development management from the Open University in the United Kingdom. Welcome, Honorable Nagomoro. The next person in is Evelyn Grace Ayot. Ms. Evelyn is the founding academic registrar of Clark University, International University, from 2007 to today's date. Prior to that, she worked in Uganda Matters University and held positions from administration to senior assistant registrar. Evelyn is a highly skilled, motivated, enthusiastic, and committed individual with over 20 years experience in higher education, especially with startup, governance, management, and administration. You're welcome, Evelyn. Our third panelist is Professor Julia. She's having some technical problems. She'll get in when that has been solved. Professor Julia is a professor of educational leadership and policy studies. She's a former vice chancellor of Dr. Garang Memorial University of Science and Technology. She's the CEO and founder of Gender Equity and Women Leadership Program, an organization that empowers women in all fields of studies in South Sudan. Dr. Julia has served in various capacities under the government of South Sudan and has written extensively on social justice, gender issues, and she's passionate about women education and bringing more South Sudanese women into political leadership roles. And she's also a peace activist. So as you hear, these are three great women and experts in the field of education. Accreditation is defined as a process of self-study and external quality review used in higher education to scrutinize colleges, universities, and higher education programs for quality assurance and quality improvement. The process is designed to determine whether or not an institution has met or exceeded national published standards for accreditation and is achieving its mission and stated purpose. The process usually involves a self-evaluation, peer reviews, and site visits to the institutions of learning. Success results in accreditation. In several countries, the term accreditation is used to refer to public universities that were established by acts of parliament or by decrees. They are accredited by laws, but not as the result of peer review, a site visit, and a report assessing the institutions. For instance, Cameroon and Kenya are such examples of countries where accreditation is by law. So what are credentials? Credentials often refer to academic or educational qualifications, such as degrees, diplomas that is completed or partially completed. Credentials can also refer to occupational qualifications such as professional certificates or work experience. Academic credentials include secondary high school diplomas, college diploma, bachelor's degree, master's degree, doctorate or postdoctorate, and professional school degrees, for instance, law, medicine, and teaching. False academic credential means a document that provides evidence or demonstrates completion of an academic or professional course of instruction beyond the secondary level, and that results in the attainment of an academic certificate or degree, and that is not issued by a person or entity that is accredited. The consequences for anyone caught supplying fake certificates, that has been an issue we have encountered in our country and many countries as well. Results can result into an injunction, but for anyone caught claiming to have a false qualification, the results can be disastrous. All industry experts agree that faking an academic qualification is like carrying a ticking bomb because you don't really know what time it can go off. A fake diploma may be like a ticket to a better life for people who use fake certificates. They may use it to convince employers that they are qualified for different jobs. But even if it works, though, they still face legal charges. Employers may verify the diploma's authenticity, and when they discover it's fake, the person may be fired or even worse. So now I'll go right to the questions and let our panelists give us an in-depth into this topic. I'll start with you, Honorable Nagomoro. So why is academic foundation important in education? Does proper education foundation lead to success for students? Can you please unmute yourself? You are on mute, please, Honorable. We can't hear you. Yeah, there.
I think, can you hear me now? Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name remains with the title Honorable Nagomoro Bridget. As you already heard from the moderator, she already gave us my introduction. I can't repeat it because time is running. Straight away to the question of foundation in education. I'm pleased we are starting this discussion with the foundation of education. And I want to assure you that the foundation in education is the most important element, and it is the core to learning and to education. I would like to begin by quoting, even in the scripture, it says, "A house built on a rocky foundation, even if the wind and the storm, whatever comes, it remains firm. But a house built on the sand, once the wind and the storm comes, it demolishes." The same for education. Once the education is laid properly from infant level to the higher level, the student, the pupil, or the individual will stand on a solid ground to perform and to continue services well to the public and to the country. So foundation laid from infant level to primary level sets a person, an individual, to stand on a solid, firm ground to deliver service for any country in which the person is, particularly ours, which is a new country. I also believe in that having the foundation in education, one can be able to take the lead in a very successful manner. Because once you stand on a solid ground, then you will pave way to train yourself. Say you are interested to be a teacher or interested in the health. Then when you go for the training to become a doctor or health personnel, then you are building that on the foundation already you had laid strongly, and that will take you to a success in whatever you will be performing. So in short, foundation leads to success, and the foundation in education is the most important aspect for anybody to go through before you acquire any qualification. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Nagoromo. I think it's, as you said, foundation, laying a strong and solid foundation from the early stages of education is very important. And you proved that by establishing the EBAS Girls School, and you're doing a great job there. So these girls, when the time comes for them to take higher education, they would have gotten the great foundation and solid foundation that is needed. So thank you so much for your input. I'll proceed to Professor Julia. Welcome, Professor. You've had an introduction before you got in. Welcome. I'll proceed to your question. So what is higher education credential, and is it important to have it?
Yes, are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay, I think Bridget has gave the foundation that if you are going to become a solid person who has changed the mind and be able to address the challenges, you have to have a foundation in education. Also, the philosophy of education is the one shape the products that we are getting out in the system of education. So if you don't have the philosophy, then it will be very difficult to build that foundation. And when I say the philosophy is, how do you perceive the person going through the system and the outcome of that product? Is that person a solid, who can communicate well, who can who can communicate and who can also give knowledge to others? So that is the foundation of education. Coming to higher education, in the Webster dictionary, it says higher education is primarily a place where prepare, landed professions and high skills for civil service. You prepare the civil service in different fields, which is natural sciences and social sciences, and as well as humanities. This system that prepare, it is a system that prepare you after you come out from primary to secondary. Now you take the field, but now you will shape your way out. You become a doctor, you become a teacher, or to become a nurse, or any other professions, a lawyer, and all those other professions. It also, as you go through higher education, it is not only theory. It has to change you. You have to change your attitude and your behaviors also. So sometimes you see some of our people, you have very high degree, but you don't even know how to go along with the people. So there's something missing when you went through that system. So our attitude and our behaviors are shaped by higher education. And what is the role of higher education? The role is to develop the intellect and advancement of human capability in the society at large. Second, personality development and social change. Education for self-fulfillment. And that part is very important. When we go through in higher education, we have to fulfill our own, feeling and intellect. That's why you see people choose different professions where they will be able to subscribe well. Education is also for democracy uh, that create free society. If you are more educated, if higher education doesn't develop a free-minded individual, it is very hard to get democratic values in the society. It also prepare public administration and professions such as teachers, which I have already said, social scientists, anthropologists, uh, and this day we are talking about engineering. We are talking about engineering a lot, especially for women to get into math so that they can become engineers and all the technological fields that we get through. So you know for education, it has to be a uh, total way of life, how you will carve out your life. And in life, there are ups and downs. You also have to learn how to solve those problems. And that is one of the crucial, in going to higher education. You don't just go to, you know, get the skills, get the paper, and get the job. It, it has to shape you as a whole in the way you will carve out your life also. And so the challenges you meet in front, you will be able to have capability to address them. So that is what higher education is. I think I will stop here and then later uh, give more on how can we do for South Sudanese as we are hearing the question of certificates are fake and all those kind of things. We'll be able to address them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor, and for the wise insights that you've given. And indeed, education is it's a philosophy that is meant not only for us to acquire the knowledge from it, but also to make us develop the intellectual and the human capability, all right, to change our attitude, because it doesn't help how many degrees we carry. If we don't have the right attitude, we won't get far and won't be able to solve the problems in our communities. And thank you so much, and building the democracy as well. So thank you for your insight. I'll move on to Evelyn. Yeah, so we get now to the question of what is fake academic papers. Is having a fake academic credential amount to crimes? And what is likely to be the long-term effects of such practices?
Thank you, Dora. I hope you can hear me. Yes, okay. Now, I think I first want to start by saying that forgery of fake academic documents is a worldwide phenomenon. It's not something that is stationed in a particular place with a particular people, but I think it cuts across the board. Now, fake papers or fake academic documents or anything that we can hold, I would say we look at it fake in three ways. Fake means it's not authentic, means it is a forged document. When you talk about forged documents, either there's something altered, someone can come in with a document, for example, which is not signed by the authorized authorities. Let's talk about education. In a university or in a training institution, we have particular people who are assigned to sign proper particular documents. So when someone comes with such a document which does not bear the signatories of the authorized authorities, that becomes a forged document. Someone can come with a document which has altered results. Okay, I have known that I've scored in the margin, so I go somewhere, they change for me and I get better passes. But yet the original document does not hold those passes. To us, that's a forged document. A document which is, you can even look at the features and they are not genuine features, because for all education institutions, we have particular security features that we look into. So every university in the country, every university worldwide has particular features that you already see a document and you can tell whether it is forged or not. It can be the logo, it can be the watermark, It can be other security features that no one sees, but a particular authority looks at. The hiccup, though, with fake papers or forged documents is that sometimes it does not come back to you. I think I mentioned that in my last discussion, that sometimes it's difficult to tell because it goes to another place. Now, it depends on how the people on the other side are really keen to look at it, because if it's an academic document, you should write back to the university and check, is this actually your document which is now being done? You asked me about the consequences. The consequences vary. My colleagues here will probably give an input, but from my perspective, the immediate consequence normally is cancellation of that document. If it comes to attention, say of the university or of the person employing you, like I had a case in point where a student forged my document, applied to the UK and was actually given a job. So now when they did the background check and called me and said, would like you to give us reference on this document, and I clearly state, this is not my document, two things happened. One, I had to call the office in the UK and the person lost their job because though they were already been given the job, they had to lose it. Two, I canceled the degree. And then three, I actually got the student arrested and taken to police. But the main reason was for me to know who is actually perpetuating the forgery. Sometimes you might not know. So in different countries, it could be jail. In Uganda, for example, you can be jailed for up to 7 years. Your documents are cancelled, and therefore you have no qualification. And sometimes, like I said, you lose your job. You mentioned earlier that it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. But when it reaches that situation, then you easily lose the qualification and you get back to zero, because then you have nothing to attach your name to. Thank you.
Thank you. These are serious consequences. And I think it's so important, as you mentioned, for universities that receive such forged documents to contact the universities that were these papers were issued from, to be able to find out if these are authentic papers or not. And the perpetrator, someone who forged the papers, would get the consequences that are assigned to. So thank you for your input, Evelyn. I'll move on and back to you, Honorable Bridget. Is it, it is alleged that some South Sudanese did not complete primary school, but managed to get fake education papers and get to university. What is the danger of using such methods to attain university education?
Thank you very much. This is another peculiar question and a reality. I must be realistic here. If I take you slightly back some years when you were young, it was forbidden that somebody should escape a class. However clever, however intelligent you are, you have to follow all the classes systematic until you reach where you are supposed to be. Unfortunately, this current situation now, the current moment in which we are, and especially this COVID-19 that has just come, as an eyewitness, I want to testify here that most of our PPMs do not complete primary and even secondary. Then they have a higher jump, they skip and go to the university. The P8 who sat for South Sudan examination, primary living examination this year in February, most were from primary 5, primary 4. They just escaped all the classes. Imagine somebody from primary 4 escape primary 6, 7, then you go and sit in primary 8. And even primary 3 were able to attempt. While it happened, some succeeded, others also failed. But those who passed, imagine what will happen the classes that have escaped. Primary 5, to primary 8, don't you think that kid, that particular kid, has lost something very important that he or she may not be able to acquire it in secondary? Then those who were in senior 1 were able to fluke from senior 1 to senior 4, sit for exams. That's gambling. Then from there, whether they pass or not, they proceed to secondaries, to the university level. This is a typical or a terrible danger for the current students now as I'm talking. Because as they're escaping, they don't know that the level of the understanding or the academic level, the way they perceive things, will not go systematic. At the higher institution, they are likely to seek for malpractice because they will not have that confidence in themselves to sit using their own brain in order to pass. So this is realistically happening, and it has happened more at this time of COVID-19. To give an example for my girls in Iba Girls Boarding School, I always talk to them, go systematic. There is nothing for which you are in a hurry. Follow class after class until you reach where you are aiming to be. One of the girls in P6, set for exams together with the other girls in Yambio, because Iba Girls is between Marid and Yambio. And she passed very well. She came back to the school and said, she's ready to go to senior 1, but her colleagues are in P7, preparing to go to primary 8. Because of the regulation we have, we told her, you did it on your own in a different school, which we shall not condone or accept here in Iba Girls. Therefore, either you remain with your colleagues, primary 7, or you go back to where you think you can go to senior 1. Eventually, the girl left. She could not stay in Iba Girls. She left, and now she's, I think, going to get admission in one of the secondary schools in order to be a senior 1 girl when she was supposed to be in P7. True, this is happening, but I do not encourage this at all. Pupils and students must go systematic in order to have full confidence, full proper foundation on which they can build their life. Then the second question was, what is the danger of such kind of methods? Of course, it is very damaging to their own brain. First of all, it damages their performance. If, for example, they fluke to the university, you are supposed to sit with your paper and pen, no malpractice. How will your performance be if they ask you any question in between why you fluked? So the performance will be damaged. And the reputation of the university, the institution, will also be damaged. For example, if you enroll, you get an admission from the University of Juba or any other university here, your performance will be weak. Your handwriting will not be acceptable, but you will not be able even to have confidence in yourself to express your thinkings, your thoughts, your feelings to people in public or in private. Therefore, the question will be, what sort of university do you come from? So you have damaged the name of that institution. Therefore, I'm trying to summarize this by saying, please, fellow teachers who allow these pupils to fluke knowingly P5 to P8, senior 1 to senior 4. If you are a professional teacher, as we did from Iba Girls, you are not supposed to allow such a pupil to fluke, to escape. Encourage, talk to, let the people understand that that is the foundation. But some of us do not portray that image of professionalism as teachers, and you allow pupils to fluke, and we are damaging this country and damaging the mind of the next generation to come. And we will have damaged leaders in the future, in mind and in service. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. That was powerful. And out of curiosity, I was just hearing you speak and then thinking, how could we, like children from, let me say, from 5 to jump 4 classes and, get into take a senior exam without documenting their, level of expertise or level of education in this period, because this is a gap or a hole you'll carry on through your life if it's not, kind of locked in with the education and the knowledge that is needed. So thank you so much for your input. And I hope all teachers out there listening and to let the children go through the stages that they need to go through before entering the senior high or the university. Thank you so much. I'll move on to Professor Julia. And now it comes also to the policy, because if you have policies in place to regulate the education, then maybe we don't have these practices. So what policy can South Sudan put in place to reduce the amount of fake credentials starting from primary to university? And how should we implement it? And if you agree that there is a national disaster in regards to such a practice, give us your input, please.
That is, thank you, Dora. That is 1 million, 1 million question, deep and compact, all in one. I will start where Bridget left it. First of all, when we talk about higher education, we talk about the universities, and then we need to understand what is a university. Universities are a knowledge center, a place where different thinkers come and think. This, to me, where you bring thinker so that they can be able to think. A place for intellect, where you can debate, you can challenge, and you can produce. It's a place where you discover knowledge, you produce, you refine, transmit, and apply. So you could see all these things. And I think Bridget was right. You cannot be jumping from place to place, and you will be able to meet this kind of criteria. Universities are based on themselves, on specific knowledge, science, and profession. Like when you were talking about Makerere, there has to be a kind of culture that Makerere stand out in East Africa. The same thing with Juba University. They have their own culture, and they have role focus on each schools which they build. Which is also a social structure, because the colleagues will go there, and when they graduate, they still know each other. And this is where really the forged academic papers are challenged. Who was your colleague when you entered the university? You will be wondering. It is because you have not passed in that culture, so you don't have any colleague. Automatically, the certificate is, where did you get it? You have to answer that. It also, university control advanced knowledge and technique. And that's why people talk very much that false certificates are not to be recognized, because you are cheating. You are cheating even that university. You are cheating them. So what are the policies that has been put in South Sudan to address these issues? We have the Higher Education Act 2012. Is one of there is, I didn't get the article, but there is an article there that most of the foreign certificates that comes into South Sudan, they have to be verified by the Ministry of Higher Education. You also, if you are bringing the papers from Uganda, you have to go to the You have to go to Sudanese South Sudan embassy so that they can be stamped. Now you go to Ministry of Foreign Affairs of that country to stamp those papers that they are genuine papers. Uh, if you just come to South Sudan without all those stamps on your certificate, you will sweat. You will not get anything. At the beginning, the market was open. Anybody who come, we were excited. We have a new country, and the regulations and policies were not put in place. And that's where most of those uh, fake certificate enter into the country and find their ways into the job or into the job market. But now, since 2012, 2011 to 2012, up to today, we don't accept any certificate that come with no stamp. You are in Ethiopia, go to South Sudan embassy, will be stamped. Go to the foreign affairs ministry in Ethiopia to stamp it. You come back, the Ministry of Higher Education will check whether it is genuine, and then they will stamp it. And this is where now you go to civil servants, you don't have those stamps, you cannot even be interviewed as I speak. You will be already weed out in the shortlisting because you have not met the requirement. Second, also, we do have now a department of verification of certificate, and especially starting with a high school coming to university. So the Ministry of General Education verify those certificates also. If you are coming from Kenya, from Uganda, from high school, you want to enter into high school in South Sudan, then you have also, those certificate has to be verified the same way as the one of the university, until you will now be accepted to go to be given a certificate now to go into one of the high school in South Sudan. We also have a program as we have been in war for so long. Most of our young people, they missed, the basic education. So we have what we call accelerated program. And that program, it takes you, they test you and they see where you have left the school. And now you will be recruited. If you left the school in second primary, you have to now to be accelerated through primary school. If you pass there now, you go also through acceleration of high school. And if you pass, this is where now you will be able to get to the university. So this now, the policies has been put in place. Also, the Ministry of Public Service and Human Resource Development, now we have put together a program that you bring your papers, we will verify them. If it is a fake, we have a machine that give the transparency of that certificate. If it is from there, it will show us right there it is not a genuine Makerere University, because the way the logo look, or the way the language that has been put in, it will show us and we will tell you this is not genuine paper. You better go back and get the right paper. Now, where did all this, this image of South Sudan come from? With all these people that we have fake papers. We have really suffered as a people, as we went to different countries. We went to East Africa, we went to North Africa, we went to different places, even far in the West, in the East, in Europe, Australia, everywhere. And we come with the different cultures and values. And what we really picked up very badly in East Africa is that when we came in 2005, there was so much money in South Sudan. Just a regular worker can get, South Sudan pounds was very strong at that time. It is $2 to $1. So if you get a 1,000 pounds, it is already is already enough money, you know, for you. So we brought this idea of selling certificate to us, and we accepted them, people of South Sudan, as an advantage. So all these, you know, certificates were being produced in Nairobi and in Kampala, and we just picked them up, you know, because we have all the money. And I remember the Parliament of 2011, the new Parliament was installed. The parliamentarians, you know, the ministers has to be back to be brought to the Parliament. So they have to bring their certificate. Some of our leaders have to run to Nairobi and to Uganda to come back with the certificate so that they can be able to be accepted. So it was a very embarrassment to us, and those who left the country. We know them one by one in the country. People, and it was a joke. You know, such and such has not been found with any papers. Now they have run to Nairobi to get the certificate. It is that we bought into bad habit to wherever we have been, and we brought it into South Sudan. Now people are saying it is a South Sudan culture. They bought the certificate. No, it was brought to us. People sold fake certificate to us. Even those who are in Makerere themselves, some of the lecturers forged the certificate in order to get the money from our students. The same thing in Kenya, and the same thing even, it is only in Sudan that the student is refused to sell any certificate to a South Sudanese. There was the secret police. If they caught you with the fake certificate from Sudan, you go to jail. And that prevented us not to go to bring certificate from Sudan, but to go to East Africa. And even in Ethiopia, it was not allowed because it's very tight system. And they didn't allow even their own lecturers, you know, or universities to sell, even though there was so much money. So that's why you saw that there were so many ex-combatants who went back and got those certificates when they have never put their feet in the class. So now with the real, as a country, we are building ourselves up with these policies which are in place, the Higher Education Act, the General Education Act, also the Constitution, all these now, the Public Service Act, the recruitment regulations, all are now there to verify those certificates. So those who have certificate now, they are disappearing one by one. And I just, when I was in recruitment board, that's where we really tightened it up, and I was happy. Those people who follow back behind me follow the same system, especially the regulation for recruitment board. And if you recruit, you have to be shortlisted. You have to take 2 exams, a written one, to know that you have the theory, and the practical one, so that you know your skill and you can sell yourself as a viable, you know, candidate. When we have like 10 people, we will sometimes end up with 3 or 4 because they ran away from the written exams. It means that those people were not having the background, and they cannot be able to even to write the report. If you want to be in the office, how will you write the report if you don't have that skills of writing report? So they will run away before they go to the you know, oral interview. I think South Sudan is picking it up. We are working very hard, and maybe in another 2-3 years, we will be challenging the people. Those who will be coming from East Africa, we will also be challenging them to enter our universities. We will have to give them tests. If they pass our test, which was exempted in Kenya, and most of the students fail in Kenya, we will be doing that. So we will be also dinosaur in East Africa if we fix our educational system from the primary all the way to the universities. And I can remember when we finished our high school, we went to Medellin, you know, to have a teaching certificate, a teaching diploma, they call it certificate, to be able to be a primary school teacher or to be a secondary school teacher. You have to go to Baktaruda, and you will come back with those certificates. But when I got mine from Medini, I came back to Juba as I got married, and I said, I want to go to the university. I got excited with the Juba University being open. So I got excited. I went to ask, and the Ministry of Education told me, yours is a certificate of 2 years. You have to go back to to finish that high school 2 years to be able to be accepted to university. So I went back to the school and I sat the national exams and I did very well. So the Ministry of Education gave me a full right. They paid for my education to go to Juba University. So this is what you can see, that quality of system that we have. I hope we will bring it back as we are fighting hard to fight the corrupt. The corrupts are more than the not corrupt. But in a short while, we will be overriding them and we will fix our educational system. We are going well now with our 5 national universities. The challenge we have is the language. For instance, those who have the Arabic background, and also the university is working to make sure that we don't just disregard them. We bring them in and they go through the language courses for 2 semesters, and then the 3rd and the 4th, so that it would be 2 years of language. The 2nd semester, the 3rd and 4th semester, they will now do it in their field. If you are in medical field, so you learn the terminologies of the sciences. If you are in social sciences, the same thing also. You can be able to learn the terminology of those courses. So we are on track. I say we are on track. As my sister Bridget, let us join hands and be able to fight the dinosaur to get it out of South Sudan. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Julia. That was a really great taking us through the historical journey of how it all started with forging certificates, buying and selling certificates. And we are so glad to hear that there are policies in place to regulate, to verify the certificates that come in and the ones even that go out. So thank you so much. And I really liked the accelerating program that helps students with the gap in their, especially in their lower education levels, so they can fill the gap and be able to cope up with higher education. So thank you so much. And in regards to the question of language, so I'm going to Evelyn, and the question touches on that. It says that what is it that most students from South Sudan graduating, they graduate without mastering the area of expertise, including writing and presentation skills, and especially in regards to the language. Now we have both Arabic and English, so that becomes also a challenge.
Thank you, Dora. I think one of the reasons why someone would finish a course and not be able to write and present themselves well is the nature of the training. I like what Honorable Bridget said. If you don't have that root foundation, it's difficult for you to catch it at the upper end. Like I tell people, if you have not gone to a good nursery school and just learned the basics of the alphabets, how to pronounce the alphabets and the sounds, it's difficult for you to read and write. The teachers here will tell you, I'm not a teacher, I'm an educationist. So you need a good foundation. Now what happens is, because of our country, because of the war that we've gone through, because of the migrations that we've had, people don't have that solid foundation. So people are skipping through. And I like what Bridget said, with the pandemic now, even in Uganda, we're having the same things. Schools are closed, but parents do not want to pay fees for the previous class. So what they are doing is they're saying, let the child, I've been teaching my child how to read and write, they can skip the next class. Now, I remember in my nursery school, they taught us basics of handwriting, how you'd even write, how you'd join the letters. So if you don't have that foundation, it's difficult for you even in higher education. Most of our students who come in, they are coming in with a different background of study, let alone the language and understanding. Now, when you studied your A-level, your high school in, let's say in South Sudan, or even in any other part of the world, then you go to a university in another part of the world, it becomes difficult for you to conceptualize, because the way of teaching is important, the program that you've gone to. So most of our graduates are coming in and they're doing the immediate available program, because what they want is a university degree, and I go. Does that university stand for? Julia told us now that English is taught for 2 years before you proceed. In my university, we make sure that you do communication skills, writing skills, and business skills in your year one. If you don't pass it, you don't proceed. But not all universities are doing that. So you find that now our students are struggling, and all they want to do is, I want to finish education, get my degree and go. I don't care whether I have understood or not, as long as I pass. Sometimes, like I said, it depends on someone's focus, someone's initiative. Because some of these things, you don't have to learn it in class. If it's not there in your class, you can go to the nearest person and ask. Or you can even go to your classmate and say, my God, you present so well. Because in most of these schools right now, I can tell you, because of the online studies, a lot have changed. Even presentation skills, but you know how to make slides. We know how to write notes and go with that. Now, people are facing challenges. If they say, go and make a presentation, you're going to study online. Students are complaining. For us, we don't want to study online, because then we are seeing the real you when you're presenting to me online. But when you're writing to me something on paper, we said earlier on that copying and forgery has become the order of the day. So my colleague can write for me, I submit it with my name, and I am done. So those challenges are there. If we don't have the correct foundation, if we don't choose those programs that we are passionate about, those things that we are willing to learn. If I go into a program just because I think it's marketable, sometimes it's the system of education. Sometimes it's the system in place. You come to a university where no one cares because the numbers are big. Most of our universities now, the students in class are 100 or more, as opposed to the past where there were 20 or 30 and the lecturer will follow one by one. If you have bigger universities where now, I don't know that it happens in Juba, you have evening class, you have day class, you have weekend class. How can a lecturer follow these students and see that so-and-so is able to write well, so-and-so is able to present well? All they do, we pass these students, because we also don't want to keep them repeating, as long as you're able to gauge and understand what they are saying. So the students go out there and they're not able to stand alone. But if you've had a good foundation, whether at high school or at even as low as the primary level, you're able to read, you're able to write, you're able to express yourself, then you will do that well. So the impact now comes in that we are not able, we're not able to compete. Then the question of, do I know someone if I am applying for a job? Do I know the scrutiny that Honorable Julia is talking about now is what is now cutting us, because I cannot write, then I'm left off. But if I'm able to, I will be able to do that. So I think it goes back to, where am I learning from? I can tell you the universities, even in Kampala, that we know, that they don't care whether you're in class or not, as long as you've paid your fees. So if you've paid your fees, your colleagues can do for you the work, you submit it online, you're good to go. But I think now the things are changing. Online education is helping us as well to master those things, to know who is struggling, and to be able to support them where necessary. The scrutinies that are now in place, even for employment, is making people come back. Now you see people are even going to school to learn, how do I write my CV? You're going to pay an expert to help you write your own CV. You want to make a presentation to a group, you now have to go above the minimum to say, I must present myself well, even to the interview panel, or if I'm going to make a presentation in another place, I must do it. So I think that once we address the challenges of foundation, better foundation, Where do we go? What do we do? And thinking, for me, I always say that we need to think out of the box. If my class cannot give me this, can I get it elsewhere? If the university has not equipped me, because sometimes the universities, we are not equipping the students with the correct skills because we want them to finish and to go. And that, for me, that is really the biggest challenge. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. Those were useful insights. And I think, again, we go back to the, solid foundation, better foundation from the very start, and also the quality of the education we give our children, and from a very young age up to the levels that they go through. So it's really important that we avoid all these other challenges that come up. Thank you so much. I'll move on to Honorable Bridget. Do you think that fake education credential is likely to hurt the economy and job opportunities in South Sudan? And what advice would you give to people watching us today as a trained teacher regarding acquiring fake credentials? You might have touched on it, but if you have more to say on that, please. We can't hear you.
Thank you so much, Dora, for this continuing opportunity. Yes, the credential, the qualification that are fake, as it has been explained, and we go, instead of using our minds, our brain to acquire, we use money. And these days they say money talks. That's what they speak. Money talks, but doesn't then help the brain. Yes, I want to say yes, it hurts the economy in a way that economy is a policy. Someone who have been appointed or entrusted to handle economy should first and foremost understand the policy and compare the policy to other neighboring countries and try to analyze which policy fits in a particular country. Say in our country, what policy can we implement? You need to analyze it. After analyzing it, then you implement and see if it is effective. That is one of the basic things. But if you are somebody holding a fake document, this brief process I've just explained, policy, be analytical, comparison, implement, and see the effect, you will not be able to go through that. And the second part of it, which is quicker, that we look at, is the cash flow. How do you handle the cash flow? It becomes a challenge because you have not gone through the system that you can be able to handle the cash flow in a professional way. For example, our currency, if we're talking about economy, why is it deteriorating quite often? What do our people who are having that ability, that service to analyze critically, then compare and see what fits for us in this country and how best can we maintain the value of our currency, that's the economy, that can take us ahead. Sometimes it takes me back. I studied in UK. British pound for centuries has ever been holding the same value. Piasta, I don't know what you know, a penny. They still use coins, and you can buy food with a coin, and the money remains year in and out with the same value. What's happening to us here that our pounds deteriorate on daily basis? That means we are not having that capacity to analyze, evaluate, come with the specific policy that can help us move ahead with our economy. In that way, we deteriorate so much. That's the briefing I can talk of how it hurts the economy in this country. Then with the job opportunity, fake documents will never ever take anyone to deliver the best service. You will never excel in your services. You will always gamble, and at the end of it, you even mess that job which has been given to you. Look critically to some of our institutions, say government institutions. You receive appointment, yes, but you have the proper credential to handle that ministry in particular and take it ahead. If not, we will always go on what comes out, which we are trying to say it is normal now, which is not normal in areas of economy that we are trying to say corruption is okay. It's not okay. There is something missing. There is something missing. I know corruption is worldwide. It's not only here. But try your level best when you have the proper credential, proper qualification, well informed, and you can be able to at least do your best to deliver the service entrusted to you instead of gambling, or you getting somebody whom you have to pay in order to work behind the curtain for you. So this is where it hurts our economy and our job. And even you can end up losing your job. Say, if you manage to get a job where you went through interview with any, especially serious organizations, at the end of it, it is discovered that you are not even performing well. The job given to you, you don't even be able to handle it properly, even yourself. And at the end of it, maybe it is discovered, like the previous speaker said, you lose your job. You will move on from job to another job. You will never have a base and stay there for a longer period. So in these are the negative things that the fake credential portray and even affect the holder of such kind of a person with that fake certificate. What I can say to my fellow teachers back to school is we have a lot of challenges, I would say. For the moment, I want to appreciate what Professor Julia was saying, that there are policies at the universities. Yes, but it's not yet implemented fully. There are still loopholes which we need to close. Let me go back to the foundation where I easily interact with teachers, like the teachers in the school which I founded. Let us help this next generation to go from one class to another. And there are 4 R's. Reading, 4 R in skills. As a teacher, that's reading, writing, speaking, and listening. This is supposed to be mastered at the lower level, nursery to primary 1. That's why when I was talking of a foundation, that's where it begins from. And let's get back to get a teacher when they reach to primary 2, 3. There must be a teacher who teaches only handwriting to the pupils, because good handwriting comes from the infant level. The 3 fingers that you hold the pen with, once they become stiff, you are not able to curve, very flexible with it, then you write like a chicken. Your handwriting won't be good. So please, make sure you get a teacher that helps the pupils from nursery, that's the lower level, to have 3 fingers soft, able to curve. Then fluent, have confidence in the PPMs, to know what they're saying. They have full confidence in it. These are an example. The Ibagans have full confidence in themselves. Ask them to do something, they do it perfectly without a teacher, because we are helping them to think, not to memorize, not to copy, but use your brain to discover. That is student-centered learning, not teacher-centered learning. So that's what I'm trying to put across. Let us put student-centered learning, fellow teachers. That's one. Two, don't ever allow a kid to act to think malpractice is the best. It puts the student weak. You will never use this engine that God gave you. Make sure you have confidence to use your brain rather than going for fake or malpractice, whether during learning or exams. Let the kid go systematic. Once the confidence is there in children, in PPs and students, I assure you, at the higher level, they will enjoy their studies until they will get their qualification, get their jobs, where they will just be happy to enjoy doing the job they would wish to do. This is the foundation we teachers have to set in our pupils, regardless where you come from. If we do this, as I'm speaking as a teacher, if all the teachers in this country do this, we shall put proper foundation. But if some don't, then the loophole remains as a challenge for some of our pupils who will think my brain can't help me, but money talks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Honorable Bridget. That was really insightful, and I can hear you as a teacher. The passion of the teacher comes out, showing us that student-centered learning is very important. And again, you kind of elaborated what Professor Julia talked about. Going to the university is learning to be a critical thinker. You'll be able to debate. You'll be able to challenge. You'll be able to discover, produce, and refine the knowledge that you have acquired, and be able to transfer it and apply it. And that's why, again, we see fake certificates would not help our economy if we don't really get the right and genuine education. So thank you so much for your input. I'll move on to Professor Julia. That will be like a continuation to what Honorable Bridget has just said. We know that there are people who believe that most of the people hired in both the public and the public service and private organization or sectors have used fake credentials to find jobs. What plans does the government have for tackling these challenges, these problems? Kindly share with us the strategy that can be used. I think you have already touched on that, but if you have something extra to add, so please do that.
Thank you, Dora. And I think Bridget has focused on really basic education. If we have a strong basic education, then it will be very easy for the university to have students who are capable to work at the university level. But the challenges that we have in the higher educational system are many. Let me start with what is higher education, or what is a university? University are made up of three entities, infrastructure, the students, lecturers, or professors. These are the three. It's just like the three stones where you put the pot. If one is missing, that pot cannot stand. Like right now, with the challenge we have with all these, people running to East Africa and bringing, it's because of the long-term, strong foundation we have in Sudan before, and now in South Sudan. Most of the Sudanese education was based on British system. Now, South Sudan has come with a different, foundation from different countries. Uganda, Kenya, Ethiopia, Sudan, DRC, which are especially focused on the French education. So that's why it is very important before when we talk, there has to be a philosophy of education. And that philosophy, that would produce the type, of the products you want to put in the market. I will use that language. It's just like you produce something, because ours are soft, they are not hardcore products. Ours is a soft. What education gives is a soft product. You don't see it until, at the end, how the person turn out. So that is why it is very, very difficult to assess and to be able, until that person now go to work and can be able to produce, have a marketable skills that they can perform well in their job. At the earlier time, higher education was for privileges, for upper class. The rural people who don't have enough money will not be able to send. But now higher education has changed worldwide. It is not only in South Sudan. It is now being run like a business. You bring in the student, you have to have resources. And that's why you see that you have to pay for your education. Now all in the West, if you don't have money, you have a loan. The government put a loan so that you can take that loan and be able to buy that product of higher education. It is no longer there. Now, for us in South Sudan, we have very many challenges. One challenge is the infrastructure. When we talk about infrastructure, the classrooms, the offices for the teachers, the laboratories for testing, for student learning, all these kind of things. If they are not there, you will just produce a raw theoretical human being which doesn't have, a touch of those training. So it is now a big challenge at our universities. In Juba University, now you have still the old since 1977, rooms which were, and those buildings now Juba University is sitting in, they were built in 1967 by a Boot government. And it was a high school. And when regional government came in, it turned it into a university. A university, why? Because it started only with 3 colleges: College of Education, rural areas, which you bring in, rural development, and then what do you call it? Animal production. 3 colleges before it became a university. So most of our civil servants who was in the South cannot now go back to Khartoum where they used to have training. So it was better to bring the training near them and then to be able to train. That's how that university, and it was based on American system. We have one of the top scientists who left his job in US to come and help South Sudan to establish Juba University. So Juba University is based on American system. It's a very strong system. Even before, lots of Northern Sudanese were coming to Juba University because of the strong academic and practical appliance of the knowledge in South Sudan. And they were almost numbering the same number with the South Sudanese students. So you could see that is a challenge of infrastructure. We are now more students, as Evelyn was saying, that you have 100 to 200, and you don't have those big lecture hall where you can hold those numbers. These are just this who can take maybe 50, 70, and now you have to cram 200 students in that small room. And now with the COVID, it has become a big challenge. How do we cram those students in those? So the issues of infrastructure, not only at the universities level, even at the primary level. You go to most of our rural areas, most of the basic school, they are not there. The one which were built in the 60s, They have, the war has wiped them out, from 83 to 2005. All those schools were working. Now with the 6 years, and now we have uh, 7 years of independence, those schools have not been built. So we have a challenge. A lot of our young people, they are not going even to basic school because there's no infrastructure. The other one is the distance of those schools. How can you put a school of the primary school in 7 to 8 miles away from a child of 7 years, and you think that they will be able to make it? So that is another thing also we need, is a challenge for South Sudan. We need to see that the rural areas, schools are built. Even if you just start like what we started in, during the missionaries' time, before some of us were born, our parents went to what they call village school, so that the kids can be close to their parents. From village school, which is 2 years, and then later you go to primary school, and you now go to secondary school somewhere else, like Rumbek, or Wow, or Juba Commercial, or Malakal Secondary School. So we need to adapt that system again, so that we can be able to bring. We need to establish, or we need to have a strong program for teachers training, especially at the university. Those teachers which are going to teach at the secondary school must be graduates, But the challenge is education budget is so neglected, it's so little. So many people don't want to, where they will not have good money. So this, if you come to Juba University now, or when I was at Dr. John, everybody going to management, the management school, to study accounting, study these things, so that when they come out, they can. And education colleges are neglected. So if we don't build, have a strong incentive when they get out to go and teach, put more money in education, so that you can attract, strong teachers to be able to, then we will still have a problem, as Bridget is saying. Like now in Juba University, we have College of Education. And that College of Education needs to be strengthened, so that it can be able to bring in more teachers. Even after the school closed, we need to bring in teachers training program. Those who have gone to education, we don't want to throw them away. With that little knowledge they have, let us bring them and capacitate them and equip them with more knowledge, more skills, so that when they go back to the classroom, they know what they are doing. The area of psychology, in education, we have neglected it in our system. Very few people are going to educational psychology, because it is the psychology that make a teacher to become a teacher in the classroom, to understand your student, who is behind, who have problem, who have not have medida and cannot pay attention in the classroom. We must analyze those things. We must, so that the educational psychology can help our kids, so that they can be able to focus on study. Even they come and we don't really cater for them, their needs and their progress, we will still have a challenge of bringing, better quality, better children with a strong foundation to the university level. Also, what we need to do is to establish colleges based on specialized areas. Let's take, for example, College of Nursing. Not everybody is going to become a teacher or to become a doctor, right? Doesn't need to have 6 years of education, but they can have 2 years of on-hand training in that college, and they can be able to deliver. You will have nurses who will be able to do better. You will have medical assistants who can do better. We can do that, not just wait at Juba University, an Upper Nile University, and then Barakzal University to bring our doctors. Let us establish colleges in different places. Take them even to the rural areas, so that you can be able to attract young people to be able to join. That is where polytechnics, we need to open those schools. If we have polytechnic, there are people who don't want to read too much, but they, they're very good in their head. They can, excel. So that when they can do the theory, you can bring them to the workshop, and then we can have mechanic who can, help us with our cars which are broken down every day. Electricity, we don't need. Now it is the Ugandans which are dominating these, small skills, even bricklayers. It is the Ugandans who are doing it. These are some of the things we can train our kids in polytechnic. And they don't need to be in Juba or be in Yambio. They can be in the rural areas where we can be able to attract, uh, our, our, our students. The other thing also is opening, the college for public administration, a institute for public administration. When we have Sudan, we have the School of Public Administration. So those students who want to become, uh, civil servant, commissioners and things like that, they have to go to that school. You can go for 2 years, have a diploma, or you can do a degree for 4 years. And when you come, you become a really well-trained administrator. Now, we are sending commissioners who have no clue of what to do with the with the government. We have police officers who have no clue of how to maintain. And these are the area where we have in the rural area. If you have a commissioner, there is a Department of Education, Department of Water Resource, Department of Health, and so many other departments. If you don't understand that, you will not be able to run that county. And this is the challenge we have now in the government. When we say that, most of the employees are redundant. They are redundant because they have not got those qualifications so that they know what they are doing. We tried in 2005 to 2009, we have a partnership with the East African countries, which is IGAD. And they put the money together as their support for South Sudan. They put about 50 million to train civil servants. So most of our directors, we were taking them to Kenya School of Government. They will be there for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, come back, and then we take deputy directors and so other senior government officials so that they learn. And that one helped us. A few people who have the skills, pick up the skill. But those who were not having the foundation, it was a challenge. It was a challenge for them. So I think we need to do more. We need to stop talking, and we need to begin to act and be able, like now we have the South Sudan Vision 2040. If we take that one, it can be a roadmap so that we can be able to strengthen our institutions so that we can provide services effectively to our population. I can go on and on, but I think if you have another question, stay waiting for me. I can pitch it. But I want to comment what Bridget and Agnes said. Currently, our pound has dropped very bad. We are not competing even with our region because of the challenges, as you all know, that we have gone through. You talk about the corruption, and I don't want to unify it. Yeah, it's a worldwide. Yes, it's a worldwide. But how are those people addressing it? And this is where we should be talking. Let us not say that it is worldwide. It is a danger to us as people of South Sudan. It is danger to our development. It is danger to our growth. It is a danger for us to be recognized as a viable state. It is danger. So for us, we need to put our hands together. Like what the program you are doing for the girls is very good. in the classroom, how you can prepare your students. I can share also my own experience. I have a daycare in Juba. It is called Juba Kids Zone, American School of South Sudan. We are working on the curriculum, US curriculum, because I'm an educator. So the curriculum I brought from my own school in Indiana University's College of Education, the early childhood, the basic education, and all the way. My degree was really on higher education. So that compact, my daughter came here, and my daughter-in-law came with a small daughter. We looked for a school, we couldn't find it. So what they did, they started with one bedroom in our house. And then we invited friends. Now it has become one of the kindergarten that is well known. In 2013, uh, when our people ran, some of our students from Juba Kids Zone went to Kampala. They will say, "Oh no, these kids are coming from South Sudan. They cannot compete, in Ugandan system." And the parents say, "You test them. Look at their certificate." Exactly, when they test them, they beat, first grade, and our first grade beat their first grade, and they were taken to second grade. It is what we can do on our own. We need to stop complaining, and I would have complained now my granddaughter has no school, what all kalam katirda. But we need to act. We need to come out with the action so that we can address our own. Don't finger point. Those people are not doing it. You also, you have three fingers pointing at you. You are not also doing it. So let us put our hands together and make sure that our teachers are well trained. Uh, Now at Juba University, we have a program in education in emergencies in College of Education. And because we took that, we developed that course, I was one of the founders. We developed that course so that we can help. How do real education fit in the time of crisis? Because we cannot stop education. It should be treated as an emergency, as you talk about the food emergency and all other things, and health issues. So education is one also emergency. And we graduated now, uh, 33, 33 graduates in education in emergencies. The first batch was at Indiana University, 14 of them. They came back, now they are keeping our state. Some of them are in the villages, helping people now in education. So that's what we need to do. I think we have enough uh, cadre, or we have enough expert. Uh, it is there, Evelyn is there, and there are so many. If we all can come together as educators in South Sudan, I think we can forge out a very strong system in our country so that we can also compete worldwide. Those Kenyans who are refusing our people because they know they are the one who sold those certificates to our people. And now we are in East Africa. We are going to put it as a priority. If they cannot employ our people, why would South Sudan employ them? So they will have to stop selling those fake certificates and giving us the real certificate so that we can compete with them in the region and also worldwide. I will stop here. I think it's too much talk. Let me give the chance to other colleagues to come in. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for such a great enlightenment about the challenges, recommendation, and again, that we can solve our own problems. And it's time to act, as you say, and there are a lot of great things that already been done. You have mentioned the nursery you've started, EBA school, and there are many other initiatives out there that are been put in place. So yeah, all the teachers out there, you're doing a great job, but there's still more to be done. So thank you so much. I'll move on to Evelyn and ask about the ethics that guide a higher level institution like your university. If you can mention some of those, and then the tools that your university use to catch plagiarism. How do you do that? Thank you.
Thank you, Dora. Higher institutions have different, for us, we are basing on the fact that we are a values-based university. We are not Christian, we are not Muslim, we are not Buddhist, but we are just saying values. And because we are value-based university, there are things that we really focus on. We are training, we are focusing on student-centered education, and we say we are inspiring leaders. So how do we inspire those leaders? By the programs that we've had in place. We look at people who are critical thinkers. So we are training students who are critical thinkers, who are innovators, and who will transform the society. And by doing that, we have instilled in them the value of accountability. You must be accountable for all that you do. You must know that you're accountable to the community, you're accountable to yourself, you're accountable to your immediate family, you're even accountable to your classmates and everyone. So that keeps them in focus. We also insist on transparency. In all that you do, be transparent and know that the focus is transformation. So if you want to transform a society, that means you must focus. What are those basic values of integrity? You must be a person of high level of integrity, because I'm training nurses and doctors. And like we asked earlier, that what happens with fake documents? If a doctor is not trained well, how will they treat the person if they have never touched a person and then get a certificate? You've had cases of people injecting someone and someone dies because they were not trained well. Yesterday, I had a case of one of my friends lost a daughter in a hospital simply because the nurse, instead of putting on the child oxygen, put carbon dioxide. I don't know how. And that child died. So if you're not accountable, if you're not held accountable for what you do, it becomes a problem. So those are the things that we focus on: accountability, transparency, integrity, being a critical thinker. You must be an innovator and a transformer. Now, for the tools of plagiarism, we've majorly been using two tools. One, there's a program which is called the Turnitin, that for every assignment that a student hands in, because all the assignments, everything must be typed. So when it's typed, you take through the program, it gives it a percentage of plagiarism. Because there's an accepted percentage, like I have quoted from a book, I must acknowledge the source, I must show that these are not my true words. So we've been using Turnitin, which became a bit expensive, and now we have what we call Urkund. Urkund is the new one that we are using, and we have had to agree on the percentages of saying 53% of plagiarism is allowed. Because if you're in the medical field, you must be talking about facts. It's like if you're a lawyer, you must be quoting cases and talking about facts. So those are the two programs that we've been using. And I can tell you that in the beginning, it was difficult because students were saying, no, these are my words, this is what I've written. But the program flashes and it can take you to the source. It can flash where this quotation is from, which book, and it can tell you the author. So that has helped us to control plagiarism. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. Those are great values, and I believe most universities have them, and some of our universities have them as well. So accountability, transparency is very important, that we train inspired leaders, and our education system or teaching is student-centered, as Julia and Bridget mentioned earlier. So thank you so much for that. I'll move on to Bridget. Most people, you've already touched on that, about young people graduating that shy away from presentations because of their poor levels of skills in writing or presentation. And how would you change that? That comes on with recommendations and to better their skills and to make them really ready to meet the qualifications that a university or a high institution of learning asks for. You are on mute. I can't hear you.
Thank you so much, Dora.
Yeah.
My view is more on rectifying this issue. How can that be changed? What I can say from the start is it may not be easy, but with lots of efforts from all corners can help this generation to at least make a step out of this. One, we would request them or institutions, schools, from the lower infant to primary, at least to have another training, I would say, another chance so that they can gain confidence. What is lacking in them is they have no confidence. So they need to be given the second chance so that they can acquire that confidence in them that, yes, I can do it as an individual or as a group. I can be able to present myself well. I can be able to do what is expected of me in a rightful manner. So they need to have a second chance. That's what I'm underlining, second chance. Wherever you are, whether higher institution or lower institution, if you kept this basic foundation we started with, please be humble. Simplify your life by getting another chance to gain confidence. That's what I would say. And those who have the chance as infants now, it is a job for you and me as teachers to create this confidence in them as we have been repeating it. That's what can rectify this shyness and this they feel in kind of they're not able. The weakness in them is why they shy off, because what am I going to say? I didn't do this on my own, somebody did for me, kind of guilt conscience. We need to erase it by giving them another chance. That's what I wanted to say in regard to that one. The second is teachers, we have a bigger role. I'm addressing teachers, we have a bigger role. With the example of Evelyn, that, we have education on the hands. These are life ministries, something that deals with the life of an individual. If you don't have that proper foundation and you just jump in, I would say, because you want to acquire money, being a doctor it is not money, it is the life. Being a teacher is not money first, but life. Because the bigger challenge or the bigger what service in our hands as teachers is, you mess a kid at the infant level or primary, you deform the mind of the kid and you deform the life of that child, and the rest of that, the life of that person will be deformed. That's why I said before, to rectify means to give another chance, but giving that chance at the level the kid is already mature. The person may say, I'm big, why should I go for another chance? Which kind of confidence again? I've already acquired my bachelor degree and so on. Yet you lack confidence because something is missing in your life. It really needs a lot of humility. But you and me as a teacher create this in a kid who will not be deformed again in the future. As I said, you deform a kid, you deform the life, even you deform the country. Our country, 3/4 of it, I could say, is a bit deformed because of the background of what we are talking of. That's why I'm saying, if we do that, we destroy this country. We should stop destroying this country, we teachers and doctors. If I talk on behalf of the leaders, you don't take the lead in a country for tombs, but human beings who are healthy. Please take care of these two groups of people. We are not saying these are not important. They are very important, but we're dealing with the life of people. I would say motivate them, motivate the teachers. Motivation comes first because it's a knowledge that the person has to give. Motivate that person not to deform the kid. That's one. Two, a primary 6 dropout must not go to the village and teach the primary 8. You have never been to P8. How dare you go and teach the class you have not completed? Please let us be serious in order to lay proper foundation and a legacy for this country. If we don't do so, we are just I don't know, we are leading to the grave or to whichever ditch where we shall not be able to come up. Please let us stand on our feet and do something. That's what I can say is a way forward to rectify this issue of graduates shying off from presentation or writing skill and the rest of it. I think that's enough for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll let Evelyn come in with her recommendations and the challenges in regards to South Sudanese students in East Africa and what recommendations you would give us moving forward. So Evelyn, come in please.
Thank you very much. I think most of the challenges have been talked about, but it's basically language, change of environment, because they are coming from a totally different environment to mix, like if you look at the Ugandan case or Kenya or whatsoever. But also there's an issue of change of systems. I studied in Khartoum. And I remember when I came back to Uganda, it was a challenge for me to be able to understand the system because I was used to a particular way of teaching and response. Now, when I came to Kampala, I had to go back and repeat a class. Because one, as I know that our South Sudan school certificate is, when I'm in Sudan, I'm able to go to university. In East Africa, they say no. In Uganda particularly, they say, you don't qualify for university. You must again go back and do a foundation program, which I find a bit a problem, that in my own country, I would already be going to a university, and then I come to this side and I have to go back. But then also we have issues of perception. When the students come, for example, to Uganda, their perception is very different, and how people perceive them is very different. People do not understand actually that in South Sudan, for example, the education system is the same. We are actually doing the British system. It's just that probably there will be challenges, and these challenges come as well from our tribes, from our backgrounds, how I will pronounce a word, how I will understand a word is influenced by my background. Someone from Equatoria will say this word differently. Someone from Bahr el Ghazal will say it differently, or even someone from Western will say it differently. So people have perception, and because of those perceptions, sometimes we do not put those students and give them where they are supposed to be. Another challenge that came up, and I'm happy that Honorable Julia hinted on it earlier, that initially when South Sudanese came to Uganda, for example, or went to Nairobi, they were looked at as money because they had the money. So because they had the money, one, they were valued and placed in a different way. And then their way of life, because you have students who, South Sudanese students then, other students are walking, they are driving to school. Because they are driving to school, then their way of life is different, and they do not even focus on education because they have it all. I have very many communities of South Sudanese living in Kampala where the children are left alone. There's no elder person to guide them, so those kids are doing what they want. We've had challenges of drugs, where the kids, because they are staying alone, they are now into drugs, school is not their focus, and therefore they have been carried away by the way of life and the communities that they meet in. And then sometimes also they lack support and they have been cheated, because when they come into the community, everyone says, those are South Sudanese. So because they know that, these students are okay, they have the money, they have challenges of accommodation, they are given high rates, even if they're supposed to pay something. The universities, we are charging them as international students, though they are now almost part of the East African community. So they struggle with life. I can tell you. So they struggle to fit in, they struggle to be understood, and they also struggle to understand others. So now, because of the way people look at them, and because of the way they perceive or they present themselves, it has been very difficult for them to settle. So one of my recommendations would be that as they come in, one, let us do research about the schools, about the universities that we are taking those students to. Because we have many desks, we have very many advertising schools. For example, I've been to Juba recently, and there are very many universities being advertised. But people do not go beyond to understand, where are these universities? How are they operating? What are their core values? What do they stand for? So and then these students come into East Africa, and they are totally lost. They are lost. The programs that they come for sometimes do not exist, and therefore they have to be put in any other program that the university can help. They do not have the right guide. Sometimes, like I said, the families are not there. So these students go on their own. They go to the wrong places. They have been, like I said earlier on, they have been deceived, they have been cheated. So let's do research, let's find relations, let's try to get to those universities and say, I am sending my child. Can you get for that child accommodation in a safe environment? Can my child have a mentor? Okay, so that they're able to walk in the right path, and then let the parents follow up. Because I have had students who have come, for example, to Uganda, and they have never been to school. But the parents are sending fees. And because we know, like Julia said earlier, we have the minting places where certificates are minted. So these students end up going back with fake certificates because they have to present to the family. I had a student once who came in from Khartoum, and she could not graduate, and she was begging me, saying, Evelyn, can you just allow my parents to see me in a gown? And then we shall sort out the differences later. I will continue, at least because they have come into the country. I've been telling them that I'm going to graduate. I don't want to be embarrassed. And she cried and cried, and I stood my ground and said, you will not graduate until you've met all the requirements. But many times, not everyone is willing to do that. They will say, it's okay. So we really need to follow up. Parents need to follow up with their students. If you have sent a child to school, ask, contact the school and find out, is that child actually there? If it's a university, we give results. Every end of semester, every end of year, there must be results. The parents, the sponsors, the relations should be able to ask and say, how are you progressing? As opposed to sending money and sending money and sending money. And then lastly, we all need to work together as a team. Identify what can I call it? A guardian, a family friend, someone who is able to hold this child accountable. Someone who's able to follow up with your student and say, I know your student is in this place and is in good hands. A family that they can call home. Because if someone does not have a home, someone does not have someone who they look up to, then they do what they want. And many therefore end up without actually studying. So we need to hold this together and do it as a team. Thank you very much.
Those were profound recommendations, Evelyn. Thank you so much. We'll take them with. I'll move to Honorable Bridget. It comes on to you with the challenges facing women in accessing higher education in South Sudan, and especially that you're working with girls in your school. What are the challenges also facing the teachers there? You have mentioned some of them, but what recommendation would you give moving forward now? Would you unmute yourself, sorry.
Thank you so much, Dora. With the example of the school that I established, let me just hint something, which is quite common and across this country, maybe across Africa, which is poverty. Poverty hinders most of our women from proceeding from one level to another. With the school that I established, I coming from the background of the same issue of poverty, but I struggled with the help of the parents to reach where I have reached. So I thought it better, priority should be given to them. Most of the girls that come from the background of this kind of level of poverty. And how did I do it? I said, parents, you don't need to think of cash money. If you are agriculturist, people who cultivate, get for me a basin of granules or whatever you have. If you rear chicken, get for me one big cock. If you have goats and so on, if you charcoal, just a bag of charcoal. We are trying to support this girl. That's your contribution towards her education. And this has worked perfectly well. And the girls are moving on forward. Some who can manage to get some cash, they also bring, we don't refuse it. So poverty is a yardstick, but we need to look into ways how we can be able to help our women to move ahead. Some can complete the infant, the primary to secondary. As I talk now, there are so many girls that have come to me because they're interested. They performed very well in completing their senior 4. They're interested to go to the higher level of education, but there is no scholarship. That's the second point. And if there is a scholarship, people are being selected on a different criteria, which may not favor everybody. Not everyone is known at the higher level. Some come from that remote area. So we need to have an open mind in order to help our women. These are the things I think hindering them. And again, attitudes from the community, so far as I've discovered now. We have a good number of ladies from this country and out there who have made it to the higher level, doctors and so on. As I'm talking, we have professor and so on. But the general view that I'm trying to get from the community and the society is there should be a limit for women to study. If you complete infant and primary, it's enough, or secondary. The danger for them in the attitude towards us is the higher you go to become a doctor, a professor, it looks like we become a threat or a challenge to the society. In which way? Because women perceive things, they think, and also with their hearts, they do things like a mother to everybody. So, which is not equally the same thing to everybody. People are different. So this is again another attitude. You need to work on it. Let us have positive attitude that the good number we have who are doctors and so on, master's holders, let us have many more to come after, so that we can say 90% of our women are literate, 90% of our men are literate. In that way, this country can be able to move forward because everyone is well informed and everyone is qualified. And when we talk on basis of qualification, and that also minimizes this abnormal gossip in the society. So those are the basic areas that hinders our ladies from getting into the higher education. And I've already spoken the way how we can help them move forward. Beat poverty, we need to do it. Scholarship, be open-minded, everybody, regardless of the background where the person comes from. Attitude should be very positive towards our women. In that regard, we can be able to take them across the bridge of infant, primary, secondary, university, and to higher institutions. I think that was the single question you gave to me. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you so much for great recommendation. The last question would go to you all, and it says that most countries outside Africa, especially those in the Western world, do not trust our academic system. Do you think it is unfair, or do you think they have a justifiable reason for doing so? What message do you have for them? You can answer all of you briefly. So I'll start with you, Bridget, since your mic is on, so you can go on.
Thank you very much. Yes, our education system may not be trusted by the people outside. And we have talked about fake qualifications. Yes, that's right. But when we look critically, this cuts across the countries and continent. It's not only here. I've seen there are areas we are best in. As I mentioned earlier, when you go back, this has just crept into our country. If it was there before when I was young, it wasn't to this level it has reached. Now it is a kind of maximum that people want to buy papers. It wasn't so before. People use their brain to acquire the documents they need to have in hand. But because of the interaction, this conflict and the war has made that exposed to go across the borders. We have brought in so many good things and bad ones as well. So I want to give an example. There are good things in which we are, like writing essays and writing exams when a paper is given. When I started with the British, I smiled alone. They're very good in technology, everything. Me, I was slow in that, of course, because we use a pen and a paper to write. Not everybody goes on the computer. But when time came, when we have to sit for exams, paper and a pen to write, most of the colleagues were able to say, I don't know how to write by freehand. Writing was a challenge to them. I smiled. I said, much as they don't trust us, we have something good in our country and in our society. We only need to improve it by getting faster on the technological part of it, that is typing. So this cuts across. We can also get somebody with a fake paper in America, in China, and elsewhere. But since it has crept here, my strong comment is let us get rid of this out of our country. It shouldn't reach the level where it is now. Because if we minimize it, that will give us full trust of the people around us and far, internal and external, that our education system is the best one and it is good. And it was so, but because things are creeping in, let us minimize it. That's my strong comment in this area so that our education system is trusted. Well, it happens everywhere, but those ones are few compared to the people look at the highest level of studies or highest level of doing things. So if only a few minority buy fake papers in America elsewhere, this may not be capitalized on. But if majority do it here, then we can be mistrusted. That's my comment in regard to that point. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Bridget. Thank you so much. I'll move on to Evelyn. Please say your comments.
Thank you, Dora. I think my comment is on that is that let's not judge, let people not judge us by the mistakes that they have seen. Because it's not only in Africa that people or our documents are forged. We've seen that the forgery is coming even from the other countries. So what I would advise people to do is probably assess us. If I come to you, just like if you come to me, let me assess and see. But let me not just say, because you're from Africa, then you have to, you're not capable. Africans are capable. And I can assure you that the way we pump education, the way our people are trained and made to read and learn and write, sometimes is more rigorous than what you see out there. That's why when Africans go abroad, we do very well because we have already been put under a lot of pressure to study. We have been put under pressure to read. So a few that have made them tint us black should not make people think that the whole continent is like that. There are good things that can come out of Africa, and I'm sure that we are testimony in many other countries of what we have done, whether in education, whether in other work life, or in the different places that we are. So we can be trusted. I believe that we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. Then I give the ball to Honorable Professor Julia to give us her last comment on this. Thank you.
Thank you all. I think if somebody don't trust you, you have to prove yourself to be worth trusted. And I think as we have all these challenges facing us, as I said before, let us all join hands and be able to address these challenges. I want to share a quote I find somewhere in some of these readings on education. It didn't say the South Sudan education, but it said the African education. The African education system has surprising outcome. The smartest student pass with a grade, with first class. They got admitted in medical school or engineering school. The second class get to MBA business school or law LLB to manage the first class student. The third class student enter politics and rule both the first class and the second class students. The failures join the army and security and control the politicians. And when they are not happy with them, they lock them up or they kill them. The best of all are those who didn't go to school. They become prophets, witch doctors, and everybody follow them. So everybody has something to do, even though you are not educated. This is what is the quote is telling us. But I think if you look at the Sudan in the earliest 50s, coming to 60s, 70s, we have the best educational system, even here in the South. We have the best civil servant system. Nigeria was #1, Sudan followed it, and Ghana. Those, taking the former British colonies. So even in South Sudan, although our education started with the missionaries, and then in the 50s, during the independence, it was taken over by the government, it was still strong until we went into the war. So for me, I say that these are gadgets of the war that we have been in. They have the start and there will be the end. There will be everything as the beginning and have the ending. And I think the challenges we face today as South Sudan, these are just some of the hiccups which other countries has gone and they overcome them. For us also, I do believe we will overcome them. For anybody later to believe in our system. And even right now, as we speak, there are some good things that people can talk about South Sudan. First of all, we are very generous. Anything we have, even the foreigners in Juba here, they come to some of us asking for help, and we give. You be in Nairobi, you go and ask who on the street to give you anything. You will not find it. The same thing in Uganda. That generosity we have is one of the ethics everybody believes in. And I remember I met one of the Eritrean who passed through Sudan and went to the US. And he ended up at the university we were in. And he said, "Where are you from?" I said, "From South Sudan." "Oh, you are very good people. You are very generous people. I came with nothing. I have good friends who helped me with my family to establish myself. You are very good people. Keep that tradition." I think this is one of our best tradition. And even though some of our values have been corrupted, they will still be picked up as we put on a better system of education, so that we know our kids goes really get a foundation, and they can also grow as scientists in the future, whether in social sciences or in hard sciences. For women, I think Bridget has said the challenges that face them. It is true, there are a lot of challenges, traditional challenges, environmental challenges, family issues, so many things. But a few South Sudanese who have made it to the higher level of education. It is the commitment you do, both to your family and also to your academic career. And we really salute our brothers who have encouraged their wives, to continue education. For me, that 2, 3 of them, they are exemplary husbands and brothers, so that we can increase the number of women that are going not just only to primary and secondary school, but also to the university. I hope our government will pick it up as a priority, although they have picked it up to have a minister of gender. But we need minister of gender to really carve out policies that help women to finish the school through policies and through also maintenance. You need to maintain them. There are things that sometimes a young lady will just leave the school because maybe she has no good clothes, she has no, but if we do have small support for those women, they can go further for their further education. We have a quite number. I did a statistics in 2014. When I measure, we have about, at that time, I found only 8 women who have PhD in South Sudan. And I think now if I go back and be able to raise the statistic, I think they have gone up either to 15 or to 20 now, which to me, I get proud, at least we are not sleeping. If every year we get 1 or 2, it's a big celebration. We will be dancing. Thank you. Yeah, the statistic is coming. And I always tell my brothers in the meeting when I go and find myself the only one, like when I was the Vice Chancellor of Dr. John, hey, you are the only one here. I said, don't worry. They are coming. They are behind me. They are coming. And I think it is true. Our women are coming, and especially in diaspora. I'm so proud of them, especially in Australia, in the US. We have a couple of women who have gone to get their PhD in UK and other places. So for me, I take it as a prayer. I pray every day when I hear somebody has finished it. I say, thank you, Jesus. You have given us one. We want more. We want to become Oliver Twist, putting our plate. We want more women to go on to leadership. And we hope it's not too far. The time will come, all of us, we will say, we demand leadership of this country and we want to lead. But we cannot lead it if we don't have tangible skills that we can challenge our brothers or the male counterparts. So most of us, when somebody asked you, there was one time a guy came from England, one of my cousin, and I was undersecretary, the only undersecretary among the men. He came to my house, so I just rushed to him because the cousin, we haven't seen each other for a long time. And when we said, he really disappointed me. He said, how did you get here? How did you get this position? Do you think I opened my mouth? I just put my hand on my breast and I told him, my head. It is my head that brought me here. And then the other cousins who were there, they just started laughing. They say, you embarrass yourself. Look now. I said, all the women you see, even though you men, you think that they came through the window, no. Majority have worked so hard to come to the leadership through their what? Their mind, their skills, their ability to perform. So for us as women, this journey is too far and it is bumpy. Let us go up and down, up and down. In the future, it will smooth as we have more statistics on South Sudanese women. And few of us who are here, we should reach. Don't just say, I made it on myself and I'm going. No, look behind and grab few with you and work with them. And you become a role model. Tomorrow, teachers are remembered everywhere. Everyone, especially the first grade teachers and the university teachers, because of what they give us. Those who have opened your mind and those who show you the world, the environment, how can you survive? How can you address your challenges? Those people, those teachers, we don't lose them. And I think all of us here are teachers. Let us bring out that quality of teaching, that we are not selfish. Teachers are not always selfish. They are generous. They give all what they have, the knowledge they have. They sacrifice for their student. This is what we need to install in our classes. One thing I want really to bring up, and I think to our listeners and people who are hearing us as South Sudanese women, the challenge of time in school is not enough. Students go from 9 o'clock or 9 o'clock up to 12 o'clock. Yeah, Jama, people, what can you learn in that short time? Huh? And every class is, let's say, 40 minutes. Cling, 40 minutes. Cling, 40 minutes. 12 o'clock, go home. Do you think there is really learning in that classroom? There is a lot of distraction. I think we need to really time our school. If it is 8 o'clock, students come 8 o'clock. There's, 9, in the earlier time, 8 to 9, it used to be religious time. This is where we get our values, as Evelyn was saying before. The Muslim will go to their Muslim class, the Christian go don't have religion, it is up to them, and they end up later joining in a class anyway. And then from 9 up to 2 o'clock, there can be enough learning. Up to 3 o'clock, but lack of infrastructure. That's why you have those schools, they have, their morning classes and the afternoon classes. So you come at 12 or you come at 1 o'clock, up to 4 o'clock. What do you learn? This, for me, is a challenge. Let us advocate for changing the timing and put more money in the budget of education so that we can build more infrastructure so our kids can be able to have time to learn and also have time to graduate in the future and become responsible leaders. I think I will stop there. I can go on and on and on, but it's non-ending thing. Budget, family support, more infrastructure, more support from the leaders, more support from women who have made it. Come back. Don't just go walk there by yourself. Come back and let us pull everybody with us. I think we can make a difference. And South Sudan can become a strong country. There are countries who can come strong because of the hard-working women. Let us be hard-working women of South Sudan. Let us be compassionate women of South Sudan to bring our people up. People talk about Rwanda. What? During the war, what the Rwanda women did? They have not left any child on the street. And now it is a challenge for us on South Sudan. Families came out to adopt kids to their families so that we don't have children on the street. I think it's one of the things I'm working on it now. So all of us, let's take it as a priority, especially those who are in primary education. Let us reach out. Families who are able to have money, at least pick up 2 or 3 kids from the street, sponsor them. There are religious churches who are doing that. Let us contribute. There are orphanages which are being built by some generous people. Let us join them so that we clean our street. These are future children, the leaders of tomorrow. They must be with the families. I think I will stop here. Is one of big project. So you, Dora, and Aisha, next program, how do we improve or how do we help our street children and accompany minors? How do we support them so we can challenge the families in South Sudan, the women of South Sudan? What can we do? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your profound insight recommendations, and that you've challenged us all to think of these issues and to find solutions to them. So I want to thank you all wonderful panelists for your insights. No better people could have talked of this topic on education than you, the three of you and many others out there. So you have really given us so much insight. It has been a fruitful discussion, so we thank you so much. And we thank our audience for tuning in. You have surely sent in some questions there that we haven't gotten time to look at, but we'll look at those questions. So we also want to thank the UN office in Juba for assisting our panelists with the technical support. Thank you, Aisha, for the help and support, and thank you all. So have a blessed weekend and see you again next time. Thank you so much.